Risk of Rain 2. Good times, good times. Oh hey, didn't see you there. You know, I've wanted to make a dedicated Risk of Rain 2 video for some time now. And with this game having been in so many of my other videos, I figure maybe it's time that I make a whole big video discussing it. And I think that both you and me can agree that this video has been long overdue. So instead I'm going to make a video going over one singular item because I think that's funnier.
Man, I love roguelikes. There's something so addicting about honing your skills and knowledge of a game over hundreds of hours. But the thing that makes or breaks most roguelikes for me is the way you're able to affect your runs during your runs. Whether it's the boons in Hades, the jokers in Balatro, or the guns in, well, Gungeon, I struggle to think of a roguelike where you don't pick up some sort of something during your run that affects how you play. And with these games usually getting updated after they release with the new items, characters, enemies, and bosses, this helps them keep feeling fresh well after the 100-hour mark. But when you're a developer working with hundreds of items over the course of thousands of hours for an update, how do you know if any given item won't accidentally just become a complete flop, or accidentally redefine the meta, or hell, create a meta?
Well, if your name happens to be Gearbox, then you simply don't.
Risk of Rain 2 is an incredible roguelike that was created by Hoku Games and has some of the best item balancing in any roguelike. The general gameplay loop is you kill enemies to get money, which lets you open chests and get items that help you kill more enemies. That gets you more money, which lets you open more chests, which lets you get more items, rinse and repeat until you have 200 hours. But it has its items split into different tiers. White is common, green is uncommon, red is legendary, and yellow is boss items.
Damn it, I hope I'm at least like a crowbar or something.
There's also blue and purple items, but those aren't really relevant for this video, so just disregard those. Having items broken up into different tiers is wonderful for balancing. Don't get me wrong, some items are simply better than others. Like, I'd take a soldier syringe over a roll of pennies any day of the week, but this is actually a really good thing in disguise. Because, let me introduce you to the three things that tie all of this together. First off, the printer. It will take a random item of the same tier and make it into whatever item it's displaying. Second is item soup, which will take multiple of one tier of item and will spit out a higher tier of item. For example, 3 whites make a green or 5 greens make a red. But if gambling your entire build away isn't really your speed, then last up is the scrapper, which will turn an entire stack of whatever item you pick into scrap. Scrap doesn't do anything, but will always be taken first before anything else when you interact with a printer or soup. Here's the interesting part though. Scrappers are way more rare than printers and soup. Granted, you're going to nude every stage. You'll usually find 3 or 4 printers per stage, but you'll only encounter scrappers on about 50% of the stages you visit. So you have a choice. Do you scrap all of your really bad items hoping for a good printer or good item soup at some point in the future? Or do you hold on to those items and be forced to gamble with the items that you'd rather not get rid of when you encounter a syringe printer or a clover soup?
And this is what makes Risk of Rain 2 such an amazing roguelike in my opinion, and it will always stay that way. Huh. Well, I guess nothing lasts forever. I'm gonna go think about my own mortality now.
Risk of Rain 2 was bought by Gearbox, the company known for sitting on their ass and not doing anything if it's not a Borderlands game. They released Seekers of the Storm, the second DLC for Risk of Rain 2, and the first DLC they themselves developed. It was bad. Like, really bad. Like Bethesda game before the day 1 patch bad. Not only was it an absolute buggy mess, but the new items they introduced had to all be completely reworked. They were literally either completely useless like Knockback Fin or Elusive Antlers, or completely broken like Sonorous Whispers or Jesus Christ, Chronic Expansion.
I think all the Gearbox employees that worked on this just kind of opened up Unity, slammed their fist against their keyboard for 8 hours a day, and then sold that as a DLC.
But amidst all the chaos and panic of this update, one single item stood out to me. And it was the only item in the whole DLC that didn't need to be reworked at all. And that item ended up being Sailstar, my beloved. I've given you all this context so I can establish how good Sailstar really is, but there's one more missing piece to this puzzle. You see, the most unique thing about Risk of Rain 2 is the time is difficulty mechanic. The longer your run goes on for, the higher level the enemies become and the harder the game will get. It specifically ups the damage, health, and spawn rate of all of the enemies. It's a very fun system that rewards the player for internalizing every stage layout, understanding what every item does, and knowing where every newt altar is by making the game significantly easier. And this is where Sale Star comes in. Sale Star is an item that makes it so you receive 2 items from a chest, after which it gets consumed. More Sale Stars will up the chances of you getting more items, but every Sale Star will be consumed when you open a chest and will come back at the start of the next stage. This is brilliant because of large chests. Large chests will never drop white items and have a 20% chance of dropping legendary items, but there isn't a guaranteed chance of you finding a large chest on every stage. You'll generally get 2 large chests per stage, but there isn't an insignificant chance you'll find yourself on a normal stage without a large chest. But even if one does spawn on a stage, that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna find it, which makes an interesting dilemma. Sale Star only works on the first chest you open per stage, or the one right after you pick up a Sale Star. Do you take the chance of scouring the entire stage, praying for a large chest that may not be there so you can open it for double the chance of a legendary item that could potentially catapult your run into the stratosphere? Or do you simply use it on the first chest you see and continue looting like you normally would? Sale Star changes up the way both new and experienced players play the game, and I absolutely love that. It even fixes the one main multiplayer issue I had with Risk of Rain 2. Legendary chests have a guaranteed spawn on 2 of the 3 Stage 4 maps, but the other one has an optional boss fight that drops 1 legendary item per player. In multiplayer before Seekers of the Storm, you always went to the optional boss stage because legendary chests only drop 1 legendary item. If you had the chance to pick, it was simply the only option. But now, we have Sale Star. If you have 1 or multiple Sale Stars, it's now much more of a consideration to go to the stages with legendary chests when playing multiplayer. Because while yes, the optional boss will drop 4 legendary items if you're playing with 4 people, they will all be the same item. This is not the case with Sale Star, however. If you open up a legendary chest and get 4 items from it, all of those items are independently rolled from one another. It would be like if you opened up 4 individual large chests at a quarter of the price. So yeah, I don't know how Gearbox managed to add an item so perfectly meant for Risk of Rain 2 in the same update that fucked up the game so much it was almost unplayable for weeks afterwards. If Sale Star was in a different game, like, I don't know, Enter the Gungeon, it would be good, yeah, sure, but the time equals difficulty mechanic of Risk of Rain 2 is what makes Sale Star, in my opinion, the perfect item.
And you know what else is a perfect match? Me making a big long Risk of Rain 2 video. But I'm not Sale Star, so that probably will never happen. Actually, I wonder what Risk of Rain 2 item I really am. Let me spin this wheel to find out. Oh, it's a roll of pennies. Okay, well maybe you'll get a dedicated video when I get out of the hospital, but for now, I gotta go get beaten up by a bunch of lizards and stone guys. Well, that didn't work. Maybe I'll just get a real job. Nah.